What's up, everyone? Good morning. So glad you're joining me today, 7:30 a.m. It's going to be a great morning. This is the first choice. Again, this is our daily devotional at 7:30 every day of the week, Monday through Friday. We are on at 7:30, helping you make the first choice, the first wise choice, and really setting your week up, setting your day up for success and all that is to come in this crazy, crazy season. So glad you're joining with me, and it's going to be a great morning. I have some great stuff planned for us this week. What an incredible message yesterday from Pastor Stu, and I cannot wait to kind of dig into this a little bit with you. We're going to do some short, quick devotionals. Hopefully, they're extremely practical for you. I think just after hearing yesterday's message, we can give I'll give a few more practical examples how you can live out each of the different ways that you can get stuck, ways that you can dwell in the wrong thing, and how to overcome those with some super practical ones. So today we're kind of talking about a recap. We'll talk about a couple words in the verse. Psalm 91:1 says, "Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty." And so we're going to dig into the word shelter and shadow just a little bit. And then tomorrow we will talk about how fear is a bad place to dwell if you're looking for rest, and how you overcome that with praise. And we'll talk really simply how. And my goal is that, man, you could get this and you can apply it in the next 10 minutes. That's the practical part of this is my goal there. The next day we'll talk about anxiety and how prayer and anxiety cannot exist together. And then day 4 we'll talk about self, and how that's not a great place to dwell. We all know what happens then, but getting perspective is what we need at that point. And then day 5, I'm just going to give you a little teaser for this. Pastor Stu talked about 3 ways. What I'm actually going to talk about on day 5 is that is kind of going on the offensive with prayer. And I'm going to give you one specific prayer that I pray every single time. I prayed it this morning. I prayed it every time I go out on stage, every time I have to go in front of people, whether it's on camera or it's wherever, whatever the case may be. I pray this specific prayer to help me get over my inadequacy, my sense of self or lack of self-worth. And so I'll give that to you on day 5. So make sure you're tuning in every day. And I think it's going to be a great week together here. Pastor Stu said this. By the way, if you're in the chat today, just say hello. I'd love to see you there. And you can give this video a share afterwards or like or whatever works for you. Okay, so the verse again, Psalms 91:1. "Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty." And Pastor Stu says, where you dwell determines how you rest. So all week we're going to cover how to rest when you dwell in fear, anxiety, and self, and how to get out of those. And so today I kind of want to dig into those words shelter and shadow. Shelter and shadow. Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. And I just kind of quickly looked those words up. You could call this a little word study this morning. I looked up the word shelter. It's interesting. It was much more vivid than I thought. That when we think of shelter, we think of shelter as a house or something to get out of the elements, which it is. But it even threw an interesting word in there. It's to protect or shield from something harmful. And so, sure, we think of the rain, the elements as harmful, or bad, but we don't necessarily think of it as harmful all the times. And so, when we dwell in the shelter of the Most High, we're actually shielded from something harmful. And I think that's a great a word picture to look into a little bit more. If you want to go a little deeper in there, you can look that up in different ways, and then look that up in the Bible in different ways, how shelter is used. And the other word is shadow. A shadow. What kind of brings to my mind is immediately a shade. When there's a shadow, and as big as God is, there's a large shadow, right? And what happens in that shade of the shadow is it gets cooler. For one, very simply, it gets cooler, and it gets easier to be out in the heat, out in the hot, and so it's cooler. And then the coolest word for me is that in order to be in something's shadow, you have to be very close to it. If you're going to sit in the shadow, if you're going to rest in the shadow of the Almighty, man, you've got to be right next to it. I mean, you're almost sitting at the feet of God, the feet of the Almighty, in order to have rest in there. And really, I believe you're getting the rest in that shadow of the Almighty because of your physical closeness, your close proximity to the presence of God. And I think it's such a powerful thought there, that, man, if you're going to rest, you got to be at Jesus's feet. If you got to be at the Almighty's, you got to be at God's feet. And then there's a protection, just like the shelter there. There's a protection because you're that close to God, that he will take care of anything that you're going through, any anxiety you have, any fear, any thoughts of self-worth, like I'll talk about on day 5. Man, it's such a great moment there. And so I'd love to close us out in prayer today. I think that's a great way to start your morning, great way to start your week. And so I'm going to pray over you. We'll spend a couple minutes praying, and then that'll be it for this morning. So let's bow our heads. Pastor Stu gives us constantly, kind of encourage us to when we're worried about control, we're worried about holding things on, which is part of anxiety, right? We just want to control things that we can't, and so we have to give them to God. In order to give them to God, Pastor Stu says, "Why don't we just do it with open hands?" And so as we're praying together, why don't you just sit there with me? Maybe hands in your lap. Legs uncrossed, arms uncrossed, just hands open, and we'll pray here together. God, thank you for this morning. Thank you for Pastor Stu. Thank you for an incredible message and speaking through him yesterday to so many of us, God, in this crazy world, in this upside down world. God, thank you for allowing us to rest in your presence. God, thank you for allowing us to dwell in your shelter and get rest from the shadow of the Almighty God, of you, Lord. And I just pray that over every single person joining on today, Lord, that they would find that rest, that they would find out how to get close to you, God, to be in your shelter, to be in your presence in order to get that closest, that rest that comes directly from it. God, I pray that over every single one of them. God, I pray that they find only the peace that comes from you, Lord. I pray for all kinds of wisdom in every situation that they may be dealing with, Lord. I pray that that there's just power as they seek you, God. They gain confidence, and they gain the power that comes from confidence, God. I just lift every single one of them up to you, God. You know exactly what is happening in their lives, God. I praise you for that, Lord. You know exactly what's happening in every single one of our lives, and exactly what's happening, Lord. And so I give that, we give it all to you with open hands today, God. Lord, we know that that before you even made us, you saw this season coming to be. Not that you necessarily caused it, Lord, but you saw it happening, Lord. And so we ask in these times that you would you just help us navigate it, God, because you saw it coming. You also saw how we would respond and react in these moments, God. And so I just ask for immense wisdom for all of our leadership, God, for all of us individually as parents, as we're navigating new school lives, God, new school years. And we just lift all of this up to you, God, even as some are going back to school this very morning. God, I just lift all the situations up to you, God. You knew how this is all going to happen. You knew that it was going to happen. And so it's no surprise to you, God. Help us to live in the confidence knowing that you can still use it for your glory. Lord, we love you so much, and we ask this all in your name. Amen. Well, so great having all of you join this morning. It's going to be a great week. Don't forget to join me back the rest of the days this week. Again, we're going to talk about fear, anxiety, and self, and what happens when we dwell in those, and obviously some practical ways on how to make sure we're dwelling in God as well, so we can rest in the shadow of the Almighty. And then finally, don't forget, day 5 on Friday, I'll give you the one prayer I pray before I have to step up on stage, before I have to do anything, because I'll tell you, it makes me nervous and gives me anxiety. And so I'll give you the one prayer that I pray all the time. Who knows? Maybe it'll be life-changing for you. It certainly has been for me. And alrighty, we will see you all tomorrow morning at 7:30. Go ahead and give this video a like, give this video a share, and we'll see you back in the morning.